want to start. So usually you don't want to start with the chest muscles because you need to get to know how you work with the things. So what I usually do, like when I started out mostly, I started with the lower leg muscles because it's easier and nobody's gonna see them as much. So if you need a bit of a learning curve, your learning experience, just the not as visible muscles are usually better to start out with. You wrap the entire body part, you wrap it in cling film or aluminum foil. There's not a lot of difference between cling film and aluminum foil. The only difference really is aluminum foil is easier to work with after taking it off, but it doesn't conform to your body shape as well, while the cling film is much easier to wrap yourself in and put tape over it. But it has the tendency to unravel if you use it later on. But if that's what the painter's tape is for. Once you wrap the body part you wanted to pattern in aluminum foil or cling film, you wrap the whole thing in painter's tape, and for that, next part please, you can see here you have the basic pattern, and that's when you cut it off, and you basically have a representation of your own arm. And you start working from this out, so you basically know where your own muscles are, and you build muscles on top of that. Next. So the patterning is pretty simple. You know where your own muscles are, therefore you just draw on top of your own muscles. Basically you draw the muscle shapes that you already have for the patterning later. Yeah, it's very important because you're gonna have after you pattern your whole suit, you're gonna have something about 60 to 70 muscles if you do all at once. So label them. Just write down biceps, write down triceps, whatever, chest muscle. Because if you have 60 different muscles that all look like shaped ovals, you have no idea what they actually are if you don't label them. Next. So you can see I used my own muscle shapes basically, and I drew on the muscles, and as you can see I have them labeled. I have shoulder because the shoulder is separated into 3 different muscles. I have S1, S2, S3, I have the triceps. And what's also very important when you do this, there are no muscles on joints. There are no muscles on your knees, there's no muscles on your elbows. This is very important because while the foam is flexible, if you move your arms and you have something on your elbow, it's not gonna stay there. It's gonna rip or come loose, and you're gonna have like something standing out of your muscle suit. But you can see biceps, and as you can see I'm very professional on the third picture because I didn't even tape the whole arm, I just left a little bit empty there. Okay, next. So here's where the safety scissors come into play. If you have your arm or whatever wrapped and you use scissors with a pointing tip, I can guarantee you will cut yourself along the line somewhere, because basically you're cutting on your naked skin. And therefore use safety scissors like the stuff you can buy them for €2 on AliExpress or wherever, and they save you a lot of pain, believe me. I have learned this the hard way. Cut off the whole thing, like just cut it along, tape it back together, and then you cut off the single muscles. And you just take the muscle patterns, put on a shirt, or in this case a shirt, and draw the muscle, like put the muscles onto you and draw them on. The tip here is, this is not easy to do yourself. So if you have somebody who can help you, just find a second person. Hey, can you help me for an hour? I need to draw muscle patterns onto a shirt. Please help me put them on, draw them on. It takes you at least a 1/10 of the time if you have a helper. So yeah, next foot. So you can see, you can cut it off with safety scissors by yourself, and then you have the basic pattern. You cut it out, and my wonderful base muscle suit, like the pattern for the muscle suit where I'm going to put on the muscles, is finished. Basically this is what a whole muscle suit looks like before you put on muscles. Okay, next. So now there's 2 different options to go on from here, because not every muscle suit will be looking like the Hulk. You might want to have a leaner suit, like for example Nightwing or Robin or whatever. America. Any superhero is usually not like super bulky, they're usually muscular but not like a bodybuilder. So there's two options, and I'm going to show you each option. First, I'm going to start out with the big bulky suits. We're going to show you about foam carving. The problem with foam carving is it takes forever. Like, it takes literally forever. My first foam carved muscle suit took me about 3 months to finish, while my first lean muscle suit took me 2 days. So I might have gotten a little bit of experience along the way, but the skinnier muscle suits are easier to make, and that's because I don't have to carve the muscles. I can just use the regular foam and bend it into shape. I'm going to show you that afterward. Next. So yeah, first option, as I said, just transfer your pattern that you already drew on your shirt. Use the same pattern, draw it on the foam, and you have your basic muscle shape. Just cut it out. What works really well for this is just a long cutting knife, like a long X-Acto knife or a carpet knife, and you just cut along the foam. First of all, you cut around the shape, and then you can just bend it off and cut it out. Very important is to have enough blades to spare, because the foam dulls the blades really fast. So you're gonna go through a lot of blades while you're doing this because the foam just dulls them. Once you cut your muscle out, you have basically a foam block. So you want the curve of the muscle too. So basically you draw on the shape of the muscle in profile and cut it out again. So, and a good tip for this is a very dirty work. Like, you have small pieces of fuzz, like foam fuzz everywhere. I still find foam fuzz on my first pants that I used for my first muscle suit. So you're never going to get rid of it. Use work clothes, maybe work outside or in some workshop where you don't mind getting dirt, because it's going to stay there forever. Okay, next. So you can see in the top left from you, I just drew, top left, I just draw on the muscles, and then you can see I draw it in profile and just shape it off like this. So, next up. Now you still have a very blocky muscle suit. So this is where the scissors come into play. Now we have to slowly round out each single muscle. And this works by just using your scissors, like if you would trim a hedge, something you just cut off little pieces at once, like, you know, those big round hedge balls or animals shaped in hedges. It's basically the same work. You can just cut off little pieces until you get the right curve. Next piece. So you can see, just round it out really slowly, and after a while you get like this rough result. And what helps to visualize what you're doing, you can pin on the separate muscles, and as you can see, these are just all the foam carved muscles, and I just pin them on with needles. And you can see, you can try it on before you actually commit on finishing it. Next. So, you see a person with a muscle suit right here. This is killing me. Leo Bain, everybody, give him an applause, please. Okay, so for gluing, there's really only one way to do it, because only one glue works with the foam, with the mattress foam. And what I use is contact glue, contact cement. Personally, I use Latex brand, but you can use any contact cement you can find. What you do is you put the glue on both sides, let it dry. It has to be dry to the touch, and then you just push it together as hard as you can. Because the thing about contact glue is, the harder you push it together, the better it works. And it's very important, again, work outside, work in a well-ventilated area, because contact glue fumes are not the best for you. Okay, next. So you can see, you can find contact glue either in tubes or in whole cans. By now I buy cans, because tubes, first muscle suit I used this stuff, and I went through I think 20 of them, and I need about 1 can for a whole muscle suit. Also very important, I put this in for a reason, don't use Spandex transparent. It works fine for a while, but after you wore it once or twice, the glue gives and comes off. So the transparent Latex smells better, but it also doesn't work as good. Just use regular classic Latex or any other contact cement that you have. Next. Okay, so the thing with this is, as you have seen already in the slides, the muscles are very rough and have a rough texture on the outside, depending on how much effort you put in, obviously. But you don't want to like cut away at the foam for a year, so you just do it rough. And therefore, there's another step that you can do, and what I do is I cover it in thin mattress foams. So you can find like 5mm thin mattress foam in hardware stores, and you just put it on top of the muscles, work your way out from the joints, because the joints need to stay movable. So you just glue on the whole sheets of the 5mm foam until you wrap your whole arm in, or whole body part in. Next. So basically you can see I work my way out from the elbow. I have a body mannequin shaped after me, and I just put it down, and you can see now there's no more rough surface on top of this. I just glued one sheet of the 5mm foam on top. You can see the comparison. The left is the arm that is already wrapped, and on the right you can see the rough muscle shapes that are not covered in thin foam. Yeah. Next. So, and now for the second option. This is for thinner foam, for thinner muscles, which works really well. You don't have to cover everything, and yeah, basically it works the same. You cut out the thin foam, round off the edge, and use the same patterns that you use for a big muscle suit. And what you do now is you don't just cut the whole round muscle out. You just carve away a little bit of the edges around the foam, because you're going to glue down just the edges backwards on the foam. It's going to be more clear once you see the pictures. Therefore, first of all, it doesn't require any cleaning up the foam, and second of all, you have more motion because you don't glue the whole surface of the muscle, you just glue around the muscle, basically. Next. So you can see here, basically you have a muscle shape. This is from the side view. You cut off the lower corners, and then you glue down the lower corners. That way the foam bends itself into shape and gives you a nice rounded curve. This works only, as I said, till about 5 centimeters foam, because after a while the foam just doesn't want to bend this way and just springs back, and therefore it won't work. But as you can see, there's no coverage here with any thin foam. This is just the regular 5 centimeter foam that is bent like this. I did this whole suit in 2 days, so this is pretty simple and it's not that hard. What I have is I have a body form that I use for my body, but you can just use any store-bought mannequin for this as well. Next. So yeah, the advantage, as I said, it's much faster, like really much faster. As I said, you need at least a month for a foam carved muscle suit, just because the single muscles are so much work. It's less waste material, because you don't have to carve out the single muscles, and it's more flexible as you only glue the outside of the muscles, and therefore you can move your muscles easier. Yeah, and you don't need to skin it. Next. Okay, basically that's the intro to muscle suit making. There's now a few advanced options. Like you saw now, we skin the muscle suit, but it basically has a white skin, and some costumes require you to have arms showing, legs showing. For example, for my Hercules costume, I had just the tunic and all of the other body parts were showing, so you have to have something that covers those muscles with. So there's again 2 options. Personally, I favor skin-colored spandex over latex, because the thing is, if you cover a whole muscle suit in latex, not only is it going to cost you a fortune, because it's probably somewhere around 10 liters of latex, also you will probably die. That's usually not a good thing. The reason for this is you're putting on a suit that has no way of breathing, so you have nowhere to air yourself out, you have nowhere to cool your body down. You're basically stuck inside a plastic bag, and the sweat can't go anywhere, you can't really breathe. So therefore, yeah, next. So for the spandex, basically the same as the thin foam, except for this we don't use contact cement, we use spray glue. The reason for this is the contact cement, if you brush it onto the fabric, it just soaks into the fabric and you would see it on the outside of the fabric. It's the same kind of with spray glue, so you have to be very careful when you spray the glue onto the fabric, because if you use too much glue, it's just going to soak through the fabric and leave nasty stains. You work from the joints out and you have to have a seam somewhere, unfortunately, because fabric just doesn't work otherwise. But what I use for the seams, I use an H stitch that are also called Muppet stitch. This is basically a stitch that hides the seams because you don't see the thread anymore, you just see the seam. What I do is I try to work myself, I work the arm or leg, I work from the outside in, so the seam is on the inside of arms or legs on the side of the body where it's not as visible. For a chest, usually I put in a zipper on the back and sew it shut there. The alternative with spandex is to gluing is you can also sew in every single muscle. So you have your basic muscle suit, you put the spandex on top of it, and then you can go by hand and sew around every single muscle. The advantage of this is it will last much longer, because no matter how good your spray glue is, the spandex skin is going to come loose after a while, because sweat dissolves the glue after a while, so you're going to have like not as defined muscles after a while because it's going to come loose. So you can go and just use a curved needle, sew around all the single muscles, and by that make your muscle suit last forever, because you can then throw it in the washing machine and just wash it and it's fine afterwards. Yeah, but the problem with that is actual muscles don't have seams around them. So if you have like a visible muscle, it's not going to look as good. But if you have a muscle suit that you wear underneath the costume, this is the better option because you can just wash it afterwards. Okay, next. So yeah, you can see basically just wrap it around the muscle and do the same as with the thin foam. Next. For latex, as I said earlier, it's an additional step because you need to do this after you skin it with spandex or any other fabric. Because if you brush the latex onto the foam directly, the foam is going to soak it all up because the foam is very soakable, and you're going to waste so much latex, the suit is going to get super heavy, therefore you have to skin it first anyway, but you can put latex on top, brush it on. I have a German word in there apparently still. What you want to do is mix your skin color already. Just mix a larger batch of skin colored spandex, because you're going to have a hard time painting skin colored latex. Sorry, because you're going to have a hard time color matching everything afterwards. And latex is not easy to paint. You need special latex paints. So just mix yourself a batch of skin colored latex and just brush it on. And as I said earlier, it's very important, the breathability and overheating issue with the suits. I'm going to tell you ahead of time, muscle suits are not comfortable ever. And you want to wear it as little as possible, but since sometimes you can't get around it, you have to. And if you cover them with latex, make sure you don't cover the whole suit. Like for example, leave the armpits out, leave the crotch area out, whatever is going to be covered by fabric anyway, don't cover that part with latex. So that way you ensure your own safety and don't die from heat stroke or exhaustion. Next. And that's basically all of it. It's not really that hard. There's a few more steps like detailing, adding highlights, shadows, scars, tattoos. What I do, there's a few different things that I use for detailing. I either use makeup if something needs to look red on the spot and you want to reuse it for another time, so you can wash it off. Just use regular makeup like you would on your face. Just use blush, eyeshadows for the creases. Basically anything that you would use on your face, you can also use on a muscle suit, and you can wash it out afterwards. If you want to do something more permanent, just airbrush or hand painting, just highlight the shadows, like put a little bit of darker color in the shadows, in the creases of the muscle suits, put a couple of highlights on the higher spots of the muscle suits, just make it more believable. And you can obviously, because I said earlier, use skin colored latex if you want. Obviously, if you want to make a Kree or the Hulk or something, don't mix skin colored latex, mix green latex, for example. Just try to do your own work ahead of time so you don't have to do the extra work afterwards. Next. So you can see what I do for the shadows, for example. I just use a simple makeup brush and just going with makeup and just brush it in. And as you can see, it gives you the details and you can see the shadows much better. This is basically a finished muscle suit, the big one with the foam skin and with spandex on top, and this is what it looks like. Yeah, next. And here you can see what it looks like with a costume, because for me it's very important to have the proportions right, and most characters just have proportions that you cannot reach in real life. Mostly video game characters like World of Warcraft, League of Legends, really has those big arms that you cannot get otherwise. Okay, so next. For the last additional info, as I said already, caution, really be very careful about your body signs. Like if you feel you're getting tired, or if you actually feel like you're cold, that is the sign of your body telling you you're in trouble, you have to get out. Just if you feel unusual doing this, like if you have any unusual feelings, just make sure you drink enough water, and if you have any signs of fatigue, just take it off. It's not worth it to go to the hospital for just another picture. Also very important, if you have not the best circulation, this is something you should consider, because if you have a weak circulation, you will not be able to wear this for long. I mean, I have very strong circulation, I can wear this all day, but I have seen other people that just fall over after 1 hour of wearing it because their blood circulation can't handle it anymore. And as I also said earlier, if you just make like an upper body or a torso armor, it's the easiest part is to put a zipper along of the spine, because especially for the bigger, thicker muscle suits, you will not just be able to pull it over your head like a shirt, because it's not that flexible, especially for the torso. So for the smaller ones, I don't really need it. I can just pull it on like a shirt, but for the big ones, I have a zipper along my spine. Okay, that's basically it from me. Does anyone have any questions? I will come to you if you have any questions. Was it so easy to understand? Okay. Anything else? No questions, anything. I'm here all day. Yeah, sure. Okay, how long does it take? Okay. That depends on what kind of muscle suit you want. Like the lean ones are usually really fast, because you just carve away the foam on the edges. It takes like a couple of days. For the big ones where you have to carve out every single muscle, it takes about a month. Yeah.
How you apply the latex on the foam? Is brush or what kind of?
So you can either use a brush on latex, or if you have the option, if you have a spray gun that can spray latex, it's much faster and also goes on much smoother. Because same as painting, whenever you use brushes for something, you're gonna have brush strokes unless you have very liquidy latex, and then it's gonna take forever to dry. So the best option is always to have a spray gun for it. But if there's no other option, brushing works just fine. Anyone else? Yes.
So if I want to do just a costume with the arms, it's the same stuff that I need a shirt, so just the armor and the arms with just like this. How do you keep the muscles on that going away or something like that?
So can you go back one more? Okay, so for Darius on the left, I use just arms. So this is just an arm muscle suit. It's basically just a long sleeve shirt, and I just work my way from the shoulders down. So I just do the muscles for the whole arms, and the chest is just a basic shirt. I don't need anything. I just pull it over my head with like a shirt. And the advantage of this, once you have the whole arm all the way around the muscles and the shoulders, it stays in place because the arm holds its shape by itself. So it doesn't, like the muscles don't go anywhere, especially when you have a full shirt, it doesn't move anywhere. Sometimes what you have to do for just the arms, if you have a shirt that's too stretchy, you can stretch out at the top so it slides down. You can just sew in additional strong fabric, a strip at the front, at the back, so it can't slide anywhere. Anyone else? Are there no more questions? Okay.
So, did you ever think about putting some kind of fabric on the muscle suit that have the same color as the skin?
Yeah, I said that actually. I use skin-colored Spandex to cover it. So different fabrics from, so not spandex or anything else. The problem you will have with that is if you use something that is not stretchy, for example, nylon will not stretch as well. Obviously you can do it, but the thing is you need to also stretch it over the muscles, so you have to conform it to the muscle shapes, and if you can't put the fabric into the creases of the muscles, you will have a washed out result. You will have big arms but not separated muscles. Anyone else? Okay.
What do you think about the idea of making the muscles from silicone?
That actually works. There's also a good tip. You know bra inserts, like women used to have bigger breasts. You can just use those as muscles. You can just put them on your biceps and your triceps and your shoulder. They will just work. Like they stick to you by themselves, like self-stick bra cups basically. And you can just use those as muscles. What you can obviously do, I have known people who did this, you can make a full sculpt of muscles, and make a full clay sculpt, make a mold of it, and cast the whole body or just the arms, and cast them as silicone. Works perfectly fine. Like, it's just very expensive, that's the problem with it, because it's gonna run you around like a full body silicone muscle suit in the right color with shading and everything. You're probably gonna run around 5,000 to 10,000 euros. So, material, silicone itself is very expensive and you need a lot of it. Okay, does anyone else have any questions? So, the good news for all the people who ask me questions, I heard you get points. So everyone who asked me questions can come over there and collect 1 point for the giveaway or for the competition. Yeah. Thank you all for your attention. As you can see, you can not only make muscles, you can make everything like this, like my beautiful cleavage. Thank you. And if you have any more questions, I will